Good evening, 49er faithful. Welcome to another episode of the Sneakerhead call-in show, where we get you to call in, members of Rob Schuh's channel, to talk about the 49ers and whatever it is you may have on your mind. It is not my topics that dominate the airwaves for this hour. It is your topics that dominate the airwaves for this hour. And anyone who is a member of the channel can go over to the comments section right there, the chat, and you will see I put in the link for the community tab on my YouTube page, where you will always find the call-in link to come backstage on StreamYard and make your appearance here live on the show. Now, if you're just camera shy and want to come on audio only, that is always welcome. You are always welcome to call in, turn your camera off. There is that setting on StreamYard, and you could come in voice only. If you're not a member of the channel and you're like, well, what is this elitist stuff? You can be a part of this show as well. Just join along in the chat. That's the way to do it, so that we get everybody in here feeling like they're a part of it. Archie doing the good deed. Make sure to hit the subscription, smash that like button. All that. Randall Riley doing that as well. Smash the likey like button as well. Yes, indeed. Please do. Welcome to the show. Randall Riley says, elites only. Laugh my ass off. Yes, special treatment for those that are members of the channel. I think that is only fair. Those are the people that offer the most support of this channel, trying to make it grow to the heights that it can get to. And those are the people that I want to talk to most. We have a little upset in the order of things. We are bringing on Chris Royal first. So I am adding Chris to the stream. Chris, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I feel like I've been exhausted by everything that has gone on for the 49ers, or not gone on for the 49ers up to this point, if you want to put it that way. It's beginning to wear on me a little bit. Maybe I'm just sensitive like that. But other than that, it's a bright, sunny day here in Portland, Oregon. You are here in Oregon as well. Are you experiencing what feels like the first day of spring?
Yeah, it's pretty nice outside. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Got all those cherry blossoms are just popping right now. I tell you, people do not understand how wonderful the spring is in Portland. In particular, everything is relative, right? So in particular, when you have just suffered through months of whatever you want to call our winter weather in Oregon, and then you get to that springtime, oh my goodness, it's spectacular.
Yeah, it definitely makes you enjoy it a little bit more.
Yes, it does. You appreciate it.
Rain. Oh my gosh. I enjoy it a lot.
Yes, indeed. So what is on your mind with the 49ers today, Chris?
The biggest thing I'm thinking about right now is how huge it was that we signed Kerry Hyder. I was pretty darn excited to see him get scooped up.
That was a great signing. You saw it sort of dragging out for Kerry Hyder, and it seemed that there would be a distinct possibility. It worked out well for him once to come in, set the market for himself, go back out and get a moderately sized bag. If he can come back with the 49ers, have another bounce back year, unlike the one he just had with Seattle that wasn't statistically great. But if Chris Kosaric can put him in a position to be successful, you would think he sets himself up again to go get another bigger contract next offseason.
Yeah, and I think that's where it's at, is that Chris Kosaric will, do what he did with him a couple years ago, and I think he'll have the, similar stats. Hopefully, we utilize him a little bit more. He was a really good pass rushing defensive lineman. So,
no doubt. And, I think he does provide a little bit of that versatility that the 49ers like, that you could potentially slide him inside on some of the packages, some of the sub packages, when you have some of the faster turbo guys on the outside. I still think you could get a decent interior rush by sliding him inside, much in the way that Arden Key did.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad that we re-signed Dante Johnson. That's huge for having that extra in the backfield. Yeah.
I feel like the anger towards, or whatever you want to call it, the vitriol towards Dante Johnson is misplaced by most 49ers fans. I believe that They didn't build up the depth around him last year. And so what you saw was having to rely on Dante Johnson, and that infuriated fans. But that's not Dante Johnson's fault, right? Dante Johnson is a versatile, heady dude that is respected within the locker room. And if you're looking at the end of roster spots, that's a phenomenal guy to have on your team. You needed him in week 18 to come in. He came in and delivered. You needed him to step up against Devontae freaking Adams in 0-degree weather in Green Bay. He steps up. And, is he a shutdown corner? Is he an elite safety? No, but he fills in admirably. And you need to have some of those guys on your roster because this is the NFL. Dudes get injured.
Yeah, I think that's exactly where I was going to go with it, is that, he's kind of like that infinite tool wrench in your toolbox,
Yes.
And, anything, if we have a injury at corner or injury at safety, he jumps right in, and, his play is pretty solid. He, like you said, he matched up to Devontae Adams pretty darn well. So I'm glad to have him back for sure.
I totally agree. Admin Honor saying, yep, Johnson is a good backup. I am fully on board with that. Yeah, to me, definitely. It was a great move. When you look at overall moves, Chris, are you pleased? Are you amongst the 49er faithful that is pleased with the offseason to this point? Are you disappointed? Do you think we got better? Do you think we got worse?
I think we're about right where we were at last year. My only complaint is just the Jimmy Garoppolo thing. I kind of want to just see that be done and over with. I'm starting to think that they might carry him into next year, and it kind of makes me sick to my stomach to think about it. But I guess I'd be okay with it if they pass the torch to Lance and let him be the starter, and then keep Jimmy in case something happens. In that case, are you asking him to renegotiate, to take a pay cut? Not that he has to do either. Yeah, I would ask for sure. Like you said, he's not in a position to really have to do that.
No.
But restructuring his contract, I think, would maybe open the eyes to some other teams that might want to take on that contract if we wanted to move on from him, say around like trade deadline or something like that.
Yeah, to me, the hardest part of that is looking at the Nate Sudfeld contract and realizing that the 49ers gave him guaranteed money, apparently because there were other teams that were interested. But that, if you follow the money, which is oftentimes what you want to do when you're trying to figure out what a team's move is intended to signal, you follow the money. You follow the money on Nate Sudfeld. The $2 million guaranteed is not practice squad money. That is backup quarterback money. It's not a lot of backup quarterback money, but it is backup quarterback money. And so I struggle to think that the 49ers will, in fact, have him as the backup, but I can't rule it out. It is a distinct possibility, even if a slight one at this point.
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of my thoughts so far. Just I'm pleased with a lot of the stuff that we have done. It's just that one thing that's just kind of dangling there that is a little frustrating.
Yeah, and interestingly, Shane uses that same term, frustration. So I'm gonna bring that comment in, but we got to celebrate. Charles Thurman has upgraded the Sneakerhead membership. He has chosen to step it up, and I love it. Shane Alston, though, comes in to say, at Rob Schuh, I just think the frustration comes from the lack of other moves. We got a few special teamers and backups. The Rams are getting stronger, and I don't care how many times we beat them. It goes on to say they got us the time that mattered. I just want to see us go out and try to compete, bro. That is all. I think that's a common theme that I see from 49ers fans. But what I would say is I feel as if the Rams had some splashy moves, but they also lost some players. When I look at the Niners, I do see a bit more balance. I see, yes, they lost a couple of players I would have really liked to keep. DJ Jones, Laken Tomlinson, those contracts got a little big for me, but I would have liked to have had those players. I don't know if I stomach the money, but Raheem Mostert, I know players, fans want to move on from injured players. To me, the juice is worth the squeeze on that one. At $3 million, I would have wanted to bring him back, but I have to admit it could have been Raheem's choice to go to Miami. He may have gotten a similar offer from San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean that one kind of stung for sure.
It did.
But I agree with you. I think with the Rams, there's, they've got really amazing players at a few positions, but their depth isn't very good. So if some of those guys go down, they're in
Right.
trouble.
Yes.
I think where we have the benefit is that we just have solid guys all around.
I agree.
And then when we have injuries, people are, plug and play nicely and they, don't lose too much of a beat. So I think that's where I get his frustration, but I think getting those depth players is definitely a good thing, especially with how long the season is now.
It is. It really is. And Jan coming in to point out on my comment, similar offer isn't exactly a similar offer after you take into account California taxes. That is very true. Very, very true.
100% true.
Any other topics on your mind, Chris?
No, not off the top of my head.
Fantastic. I'm going to rotate down to try and keep it moving for those that are waiting. But if you want to hang out and come back on with another topic, we are happy to do so, my friend.
Sounds good.
All right. We'll see you in a little bit, Chris. All right. Bringing in Sean 951 Niners. What's up, Sean? How you doing, man?
Doing good, brother. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I would be, as we were talking about earlier, my sanity level would go up as soon as I hear that news that Jimmy Garoppolo has been traded. But I have begun to focus on patience, blocking it out of my mind, because it seems to me we could be in for a little bit of a wait. I do not predict he will be on the roster in week 1 in any way, shape, or form, but I think we may have to wait this thing out for at least a couple more weeks. There's just no deadline.
Yeah, so I see things way different now than before, just because of the way it's played out, right, wrong, or indifferent. You kind of just got to roll with it. So I really I don't think he's going to get traded. I think they're just going to let him go to the point where he can be released, give him a 7.5 payout, see if any team scoops him up. And if they do, then he's only $1.5 million or so dollars.
Yeah, I think 1.4 is the.
And we get the third comp pick next year. So in all reality, if we can't get any of those picks now because they screwed up or whatever the reason was, it is what it is. Well, then they may as well just take the third. It's just not this year, it's next year, and say bye-bye to him. And they can't say that they didn't get a third rounder for him. It just wasn't for this year. So I really think that's probably what they're doing now. The only thing that baffles me is why will they not just come out and publicly support Lance as the quarterback for next year? I'm seriously baffled, because every other GM, whether it's via YouTube, ESPN, NFL Network, they all get interviewed in the last week or two about the moves they've made.
Yep.
And they've talked. Not us. Lynch said did one little interview with Keisha Martin, I think's her name, for the Niners at the Combine, and that was super premature, wasn't really much of anything. So it's really interesting to me, like, why wouldn't they just come out and do that so that we can all say, okay, we understand they're trying to get moved? Because it's not a disadvantage anymore. There's only a couple teams that need QBs. And honestly, if they fill the quarterback position for Carolina, Seattle, etc., maybe then the 49ers can go back to Jimmy G and be like, hey, there is no starting spot for you of the 32 teams. It's obvious. It's not us just telling you smoke, right? And if I'm Jimmy G, well, then screw it. Give me my 7.5. So at least I got 7.5. And then if I get picked up, it's my choice, because I get to say who I want to go to at that point, because I would be released. I'm cut.
Right.
I think that's probably how that portion's going to play out. But to get off the Jimmy G, my only concern left right now is O-line. They have to have something up their sleeve for the O-line, because we're not trying to fill one spot. We're trying to fill 3. And the fact they haven't done anything, if you are handing the reins over to Trey Lance, if I'm Lance right now throwing to Ayuk and whatever I'm doing to get better, just like Russell Wilson or any other quarterback will tell you, I've got 2 spots filled, and that's assuming Matt comes back.
So you're looking at right tackle with McGlinchey being a question mark?
Well, I mean, I would love to say he's not a question mark, but even
Right.
when he's healthy, he's a question mark, right? Because at the end of the day, we don't care about the way he does the run game. That's different. We're talking about Lance. Right?
Yeah, protecting the
Lance.
quarterback.
So unless his plan is to go into the year and have multiple tight ends on first or on a second and third down to protect him and keep him out of the passing game like they did with Kittle most of last year, then I'm just curious what in the world they're doing there. But every move they've made this offseason has been DST, defense and special teams.
Yes.
Wilson don't count. He's going right back to the end of the pecking order.
No.
So if they've done zero offensive moves, everything's been defensive. Either one, they're scared that we're playing the AFC West this year. Okay. Because not only are the Rams going to be tough twice, regardless whether we beat them most of the time or not. We have two of them. Until we beat Seattle 2 times in a year, I'm just going to assume, even with Drew Lock, they're going to be a problem. I mean, it's sad to say, but we need to beat them.
No, there's a mental hurdle there that has to be cleared.
Arizona, unless Murray holds out, they're still going to be tough. And then we have the entire AFC West. So I wonder if Shanahan and Lynch are saying, we better just at least be able to make sure that we can keep the score to 21 or 24.
Yeah.
Because we can't predict with Lance we're going to put up 35. I mean, I hope so, but we don't see that yet, right, from the way they've built the O-line to protect them. So those are my curiosities here March 24th, but I really do think no one's going after Jimmy anymore because I don't think any of those teams are going to take on his contract. They'll take him on as soon as he gets cut.
Yeah. The tough part, Josh Mangold properly, I think, calls out here. I'm reasonably certain of this as well, that you don't get any of those compensatory draft picks if you end up releasing Jimmy. You won't get that third rounder next year, no matter who signs him. It would only be if they allowed him to play through the remainder of his contract. And I got to say, I hope they don't go that route. Jaguile 56 coming in as the latest sneakerhead here on the channel. Got to celebrate that. And then I want to say that I agree with you on the offensive line, but I have to interpret the 49ers moves or lack of moves so far to indicate they must feel a little more secure about it than you and I do on that offensive line. They obviously have more information about Mike McGlinchey, his recovery from the injury. But if we don't see a veteran tackle signed at some point, I'm going to take that as positive news that Mike McGlinchey may be back. I have a moderately higher opinion of him when he's healthy and playing as a suitable tackle. I don't know that I want to commit to him long term, but I definitely see him as viable. The Niners must view one of those guard spots or both as basically locked down, right? They may think Aaron Banks slides real nicely into that left guard spot, and they might say to themselves, hey, we got to the NFC Championship game with Daniel Brunskill, and so they've sort of penciled him in after tendering the guy. So it concerns me that they're not investing there, but I also interpret it to mean that they're a little more confident in the position than I am.
Yeah, I mean, if Shanahan has a huge run-heavy plan for this year, then you can use those guards and just have him push people out of the way. But if he is going to unleash Lance, like we've seen him with those 5-step drops, receivers take forever to get open, and then he just hucks the ball downfield, and we're going to play the long game. Man, I don't see evidence of our tackles being able to – I mean, obviously, Williams is different. But, I mean, the rest of the
very
team
different. Being
able to hold up. So that's why I'm just curious. We don't know. But if he goes young, he's got to go run heavy and rely on the same thing we've been relying on for his whole regime, right? Defense, now hopefully special teams, field position. It's the Alex Smith era, from or you could even call it the Jimmy G era. But – I don't know. I don't know yet. It's too early for me to know which way he's going. But the fact that they've been silent, they don't even talk. We don't even have anything from Lynch or Shanahan. Either they have something going on that we don't know about and they don't want to spill the beans and sound stupid and have the media all over them. Or man, I mean, we have a lot of picks. They must like some linemen that they hope can come in and be bulldozers. But I'm skeptical on the O-line. It's very weird. Everything's gone into our defense, which is already good. How are they going to protect Lance? If he's the guy, which they have not publicly supported, but if he's the guy and that's the plan, man, what are you doing? Just tell me what you're doing.
Yeah, my hope is that you have the NFL owners meeting coming up in the very near future within I think it starts on the 27th or the 30th. It starts very soon. And I would anticipate that that's where we finally get some sort of a statement. But you have to wonder if they say anything of substance or whether they're just dancing around the issue. And part of me assumes that Lynch is staying away from the camera so that he doesn't have to answer the ridiculous questions about, not ridiculous, but the questions that may irritate him about Jimmy Garoppolo and the failure on the organization's part to move him up to this point. But if he's not going to move him by the owners meeting, he's going to need to face that music at some point. So I'm with you. I would like to hear, let's support Trey Lance. Let's indicate that, yes, we are still working to move Jimmy Garoppolo. I understand that they can't hamstring themselves as far as negotiation. They have to bluff that they're willing to keep him. Otherwise, teams call that bluff and say, you're going to cut him at some point anyway. But again, as a loyal fan, I want a little bit of information. I just want a little bit.
And I think with Jimmy's surgery, you've alluded to this with others.
Yes.
Lynch at the combine, you could tell he was not prepared with the amount of time that it would take to speak on that. It was very off the cuff, like, well, he's on our team and until he's not, and we support him and his shoulder's going to get better. That had to have been his biggest Achilles heel in this process for him, that he didn't want to admit, thinking he could still flip him until the Watson stuff and everything else went down and just screwed up that tree of quarterbacks, moving around.
Brutal.
But
brutal.
But think about it, though. If I'm Lynch, I don't want to go in front of a microphone, because at the end of the day, there's nothing I can say to the faithful that's going to make them happy. There's nothing I can say to any media question that is going to make sense to the media. They're going to bury me regardless. One, I didn't move him when Wentz got moved. If there was no Wentz getting moved, I think we'd be okay, because every other quarterback is literally better. That dude's not and got 2/3. So I've got nothing. There's nothing I can do with my face and talk to be able to sit there, and when my perception around the league is I am a smart guy.
Right.
I'm a likable guy. I'm doing everything right. So he's got to be able to sit there and just trust. I think that first interview, if you get someone good, not asking him about his knee scrapes in the 3rd grade,
right?
I think he's going to get. We're going to see how he responds, because we're going to know if he's telling the truth or not. You can't lie your way through this one.
No, you cannot, and I am looking forward to it. All right, Sean, I'm going to get down to Korean 49er. You hang around. We'll see about doing the roundtable. This.
You got
All right, my man. See you in just a little bit. All right, bringing in Korean 49er. Just wanted to hit one or two. Troy coming in saying, my guy Rob, just wanted to say what's up to Troy and Alan doing the good deed. Hit that like button like Frank the Tank did back in the day. I appreciate that. I also like Dirk Pippin's suggestion here in getting creative with some of those trades. Devontae Parker for Jimmy. I think the Niners need to be creative in some of these frickin' trade scenarios. All right, we got Jaguile56 with a super chat, and then we're going to Korean 49er. At Rob Schuh, overall, I feel good about free agency moves. We improved our terrible special teams unit. Maybe get a safety in the 2nd round, Cook or Petrie. You know me, I'm in love with Jalen Petrie at the moment, just silky smooth in those drills at the combine. I love edge rusher or safety at that 2nd round spot. I agree. I feel good about the moves that we made in free agency. I feel pretty balanced in the talent that we lost, but the improvement on special teams. I get that the 49ers are acting prudently, but I also would have liked to have seen a little more aggression, just a little more aggression. And I do think having Jimmy on the books has held us back in that regard. I don't think it necessarily has prevented the Niners from getting anyone they loved, but I do think it has prevented them from making all the movements that they might have made without that on the books. All right, we're bringing in Korean 49er. Korean 49er, how you doing, man? No, you are muted, good sir. Uh-oh, audio out. All right, we will try again. We will bring you back in real quick. I will get back to a couple other comments coming in. Jan talking about that ESPN job looking real good to John Lynch right about now. I'm telling you, the pressure is mounting. All right, we're bringing Korean 49er back in.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Technology, I guess I'm a boomer like Ryan is, I guess.
Hey, as am I. I was on a show earlier, and there was it must have been a power surge in my house, but there was a flash of light, and then things shut down, and I was live with 49ers First Takes. I was like, uh-oh, this isn't good. What? Wait, what do I need to figure out in order to get power back on and get my internet? And yeah, it just, sometimes you got to roll with the punches.
Yep. So to me, I'll give you one name they should have gotten if they didn't have Jimmy on the books.
Okay.
How about Lyle Collins, the former Dallas Cowboys right tackle?
That would have been a stud free agent to bring in, no doubt. Now, do you believe that the 49ers with their, because you have to kind of admit that they've followed this reasonably conservative approach to free agency for most of the Shanahan era. Do you think that if they had that money off the books, that they really would have spent it? Or is it possible that even with that money off the books, they sort of sit on their hands a bit in that regard?
To me, this franchise is ran by bean counters. So you'll never get the all-in move like Deion Sanders in 1994 when Eddie signed him for that one season.
Yeah, and you do have to credit the fact that that was the last year without the salary cap, right? The Niners were themselves subjected to salary cap hell because of the moves that they made in assembling that Super Bowl team. But I agree from the standpoint of there are times where you have a team that is close enough and you need to push some chips into the middle of the table. And the 49ers have not sent a message that they're doing that. My interpretation of that is, that they are attempting to confirm what they believe they have in Lance. I think it's a fair criticism for those that say, well, you could have figured that out last year. For me personally, I wouldn't have traded the end result of last season in order to get that information. But sitting here now, I do wish we were certain of what we had in Lance so that the Niners were certain of what they had in Lance so they maybe would make some of those aggressive moves that it seemed they passed on in this offseason.
Yeah, so main reason I wanted to talk to you, Rob, is to me, why we have Jimmy now is a culmination of why the 49ers front office have not found a starting quarterback they could pin their hopes on. Started in 2017 with not scouting the top quarterbacks and going with Brian Hoyer, I believe. And then 2018, didn't Kyle say he wanted Josh Allen? Not to say that they could have moved up. Who knows? And then you trade a pick for Jimmy. But then that's where my questions came in is I watched – he didn't even make it past 2 starts when Tom Brady was suspended. He got injured.
Right. Yeah, and got criticized from a New England teammate in the way in which he didn't play in that game, right? That was, what's his name? One of the brothers, the tight end, who's a very outspoken individual, but was on there with the McCourty brothers, and neither one of them refuted it. They sort of just laughed at the comment.
So that's where some of my questions kind of come in, where we still have, we are in the position we were in with a starting quarterback, the most important spot in pro sports. At least American pro sports. But then when you remember when Peyton Manning was out for most of that one season, the last season he was with Indy and the Colts got the number 1 pick to get Andrew Luck. What did Peyton Manning tell the Colts? If you draft Andrew Luck, you have to cut me because he has to play. And to me, when you traded up to number 3, I would have cut Jimmy on the spot because this is what my thinking is, and maybe your thinking is a little bit different, and that's fair.
Yeah.
I could have gone 2 ways with that. Let's say you didn't trade up to number 3.
Right.
You could have
gotten at 12.
You could have gotten Rashawn Slater. And how did he end up playing for the Chargers? I believe he was a Pro Bowler in his first year.
Pretty well.
I think he would look really good on our offensive line.
I think you're right about that.
Okay, let's say they moved up to number 3. It is what it is.
Yes.
You could have cut Jimmy and potentially rolled over $50 million into this season. Because remember, if you didn't spend any of that money last season from Jimmy's contract, it rolls over. I'm not telling the 49ers to spend all $25 million to get a buku free agent. They're going to do what they're going to do. But at least if you said, hey, we're going to spend $10 million last season and then improve a little bit more depth, you still had $40 million you could roll over. I'm just using an example, of course.
Yeah. No, that's fair. When I look at that, to me, I wouldn't trade the end result of what happened last year. To me, I understand people who believe in championship or bust, and if it isn't a Super Bowl victory, then it's not a successful season. I just disagree with that premise. I find incredible joy in seasons where the Niners do well. I found incredible joy in, as you know, going out to Lambeau Field, watching them win there. That's a memory I will treasure for the rest of my life. And so I can't I can't trade that for the potential of that 25 mil, but I understand that as a potential strategy that the Niners could have pursued that would have put them quite arguably, pretty easily, arguably, in a better situation to win right now. But again, to me, I'm not willing to give up the NFC Championship game appearance in order to get there. But I understand the logic.
Agree. I don't think we're, we have differing opinions, and that's always fine and fair. And I'm not going to get angry at you. I might not like it, but
I appreciate that, because two people can have different opinions and still respect the hell out of one another.
I might have to ask for that pizza on your half to be a little extra spicy just to see that sweat coming up. But
I like it.
I'm not going to do that. But just saying that we could have put ourselves in a better position with a starting quarterback and not have to worry about any of this. But it is what it is.
Yes.
My thing is I wanted Lyle Collins because I don't trust McGlinchey even when healthy.
Sure.
I believe he was a product of playing with Quentin Nelson at Notre Dame. I'm not a Notre Dame fan, but living in the Midwest, they're on national NBC, so it doesn't matter.
They are.
So I watched Quentin Nelson dominate, and that helped out McGlinchey a lot. So to me, he was more of a byproduct of that than being an actual elite level college left tackle at the time.
I think that's a fair statement. I mean, certainly you could argue that with Laken Tomlinson, right? I mean, that was many fans' standpoint of, hey, Laken is great, and can you get an accurate picture of who he is when he's next to someone who's as elite as Trent Williams? I mean, I believe that you've seen enough from McGlinchey, but I agree. I don't know that it is enough to warrant a long-term contract. I think it hinges greatly upon how he returns from injury and how he looks this year.
I think the problem with McGlinchey is that injury was so severe that there's always that 50-50 shot of him not coming back.
Yeah.
Because I believe he tore that tendon, and that's like, I've never heard that injury ever happen in football. I'm not saying it hasn't.
Quad tear. Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah.
That's a big freaking muscle to tear.
He put a big load on that, and
yes, he did.
Snap, crackle, pop. But my thing is, to me, I feel that this season is going to be a down season because just based off the Kyle Shanahan track record. Remember, he had that 13-3 season in 2019. Sure. I understand Jimmy went down. I get it, but still, you can't make excuses for winning or losing in the NFL. You don't get paid. You get paid big money to find ways to win.
Yeah, I think Kyle should face criticism if we have that type of an off year. If we dip that much, I think there should be some criticism. I don't anticipate it'll be the case, but it would be fair in my book.
And one last point to you, Rob. The money for Jimmy, if we do cut him, that's not going to. I'm not worried about Debo or Bosa paying either of them with that for this reason. Per the collective bargaining agreement, what can they do with Debo? They could franchise tag him.
Sure.
And then work out a negotiation. And if he doesn't like it, they could move him. Not saying that's going to happen, but those are the options they have. And
for
with
sure.
Bosa, you have the 5th-year option. So you can delay that another year and say, hey, to me, and try to sign him to a long-term deal. If either of them don't want to play ball with a long-term contract, look what happened with Tyreek Hill and some of these elite players they're trading. It's bringing Tyreek Hill, I think, got 5 picks back. 5 or 6.
5 picks. It's crazy.
And what did Russell Wilson get? He got a boatload of picks and players. So
big deals.
So they have options, and that's never a bad thing to have. Oh, and with Tyreek Hill going to Miami, Tua, you better perform this year.
That's right. No more excuses.
And they got him, and they also got him Teron Armstead.
Yes. Oh, huge left tackle signing and a big loss for the Saints, no doubt.
Yes. So, and my last thing is they don't have a 1st-round pick, but that's where you find elite offensive linemen because remember when Jim Harbaugh had his run for those 4 seasons, wasn't Staley a 1st-round pick?
He was.
Anthony Davis, I believe, was a 1st-round pick. Ayupati was a 1st-round pick.
Yes, he was. We had a stacked O-line.
So I don't ever want to hear anyone say that you can't get elite. Look at the Cowboys prior to like Zach Martin and Tyron Smith kind of slowing down because they're starting to have the years on them. But they had 3 first-round drafted offensive linemen, and they were pretty good. I mean, you can't win if you can't control the line of scrimmage.
Amen to that.
So,
always appreciate the call, Korean 49.
thank you, Rob.
All right. Thank you so much. We are going to bring in Joshua. Hold on just one second, Joshua. We got a couple of super chats. Charles Thurman, thank you so much for your patience. Want to get to these in-between callers. If we don't beef up the offensive line, it will be hard for Trey to shine on his back instead of upright. Yeah, you can't let the rookie come in, not rookie anymore. You can't let the second-year player come in for his first meaningful snaps behind an atrocious offensive line. If the Niners are very confident in that depth that they have, I hope that they are right. I fall on the side of wanting them to invest a little bit more, along with my last caller there, Korean 49er. I think he and I are aligned on that the 49ers should, in fact, invest in the offensive line. And I anticipate that they will. I think they'll probably do it in the 3rd round of the draft. Joey Mellon, Sneakerhead here on the channel. How about beef up the O-line for Trent Williams? What's the point of having the best if the rest are just going to flop? People are with us that O-line should be a priority. I got my mind on Cole Strange. I'm just saying Juergens is another one that's out there. The draft, the Niners will address it. All right, we're bringing in Joshua. Joshua, how you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
Good. How are you doing, Rob?
I am doing fantastic. Always enjoy myself when I am talking with 49er faithful.
I have a take for you. What do you think about all the sports takers thinking that Jimmy might go over to Miami to help out Tua, since it is the Miami 49ers now?
It does seem to be the 49ers South, right? We've joked about that SoFi Stadium being Levi's South. Well, it does seem that 49ers players are migrating to Miami, and who could blame them? Fewer taxes, and they get to play with Mike McDaniel, who is a hell of a guy, hell of a coach, hell of an offensive mind. I think it's intriguing for consideration. I don't know that it makes a ton of sense. I feel like Jimmy is an expensive mentor, is an expensive pure bridge quarterback. I struggle to find the legitimate landing spots for Jimmy once those winning teams, the teams that were built to win right now, and I considered those to be Pittsburgh and Indianapolis as the 2 premier spots. Once those spots got filled, I get real nervous trying to picture who Jimmy Garoppolo actually makes sense for. Because it's not just about talent. It's not just about what he brings to the locker room. It's the whole puzzle piece that they have to put together. They got to consider what their cap constraints are. They've got to consider what are their future plans at quarterback and how committed do they want to be to a quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah. I think actually like the 2012 Niners and the 2019 are like completely like opposite, but similar at the same time. How 2012 was all first round offensive linemen on there, and then 2019 it was all first round defensive linemen.
Yeah. And both were fun to watch. Like, I love smash mouth football, whether it is your team running it down the throats of the opposition or whether it is your defense stifling the hell out of that offense. To me, it's not splashy. Those aren't the plays that make it onto, most often the Sports Center top 10. It's the big touchdowns that do. But I love watching the trenches. To me, that's the real football. That's the art of football happens in the trenches.
Yeah. So.
Nice. Anything else going on? What's your impression of the 49ers offseason moves to this point? Are you happy with the progress they've made? Do you feel like they've gotten any better?
I feel like they have. I think some people think that they're not committed to Trey, but what if they're so committed to Trey that they feel like they're already, the players that they have right now are enough to get them to the NFC Championship again, and maybe like how we had Emmanuel Sanders, something later this season, just get maybe another deep threat if we don't have something already.
I like that because it ties in nicely to my assertion that the 49ers are simply being prudent, that they are attempting to confirm what they believe to be true about Trey Lance. But you could add on to that and say, well, they believe that they're not waiting to confirm anything. They believe he is so talented that he will lift up the team. And with this roster, they'll be set to compete. And then they'll have the flexibility to add pieces mid-season, next offseason. But that it really is the addition of Trey Lance's playability and that, being higher than Jimmy Garoppolo's ceiling that maybe propels them. I think you could see a mix of those two strategies where they say to themselves, we're not entirely sure he's that great, but if he is that great, he will take us over the top. So let's be conservative and leave ourselves some flexibility as a team. That would be my take on it.
Yeah.
I like it. Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you calling in, Joshua.
All right. Thank you, Rob.
You're very welcome. Have a nice afternoon, evening. All right, we are bringing in Swan Song, and I see we've got William Bennett down there in the chat as well. What's up, William? It's good to see you. Swan Song, we are bringing you in. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Rob. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, man.
Okay.
At the beginning of the show, I was still a little caught up in wanting the 49ers to make some more moves, give me some more excitement. But in talking with the faithful, it gets me jazzed up. I don't know what that is. It's a natural high that I get from speaking to fellow 49er fans.
So it seems to me like I go through a daily phase of either being really pessimistic or being able to just ignore it and just trust it. So I flip-flop from those two things on a daily basis. And it's been so, like, every news item, it's going to set my mood. If I'm going to be down on the 49ers or I'm going to think more positive about the 49ers. So I'll try to give you a little bit of both right now.
I like that because I'm going back and forth too. I feel very similarly.
So the thing that frustrates me is, I mean, I don't want to rehash a bunch of stuff, but
sure,
this front office or this, they're not committing to what they've done. You know what I mean? Like they don't have any courage with the convictions that they did. They went all
intestinal fortitude is missing. Yes,
like just do it. Like what are you like? All this indecision, all those things is not going to get you there, especially now when you have teams that will do anything just to win one Super Bowl.
Yeah, they certainly seem to be making some moves that make that statement. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. The only way to have to build a dynasty, if that even exists anymore, quote in quotes, is to do it in a prudent way, right? Like what the Rams did is that's something that they're going to be all right for the next 3 or 4 years, right? But they have a small window, right? But
you would think so.
Yeah, you would think so, right? Unless they make another move for another
quarterback. In theory, they have a shorter window because they were so aggressive.
But I look at the team that is closest to a dynasty, I would say, granted, they don't have all the Super Bowls, but the most consistent team in the NFL is the Chiefs.
Right?
They got one Super Bowl. They went to 2 of them, and they went to 4 AFC championships in a row. And even though they lost Tyreek, I mean, they have 2 number ones. Like, when you have a quarterback like Mahomes, anything that you plug in, they're that much better.
100%.
Right? It doesn't even matter. Like, Rodgers proved that. How many years did Rodgers go where he was still effective when they're like, who is he throwing to? You know what I mean? And
he
Brady has
raised
some
people
years
up.
like that, too, where it's like, who is he throwing to? But elite QBs can do that, right? And that's why you go out and get a Trey Lance. That's why you do that. You do that. So, and then, of course, on the rookie deal as well. And, Korean 49er talked about it, all the cap that we could have cleared. I mean, we could have front-loaded one of these contracts with that cleared cap, too.
Most definitely.
You could do anything you want, right? So you have flexibility. You can go crazy mid-season and get like a Von Miller or whatever, and there's going to be opportunities like that again. I think the Rams were brilliant in the way they did that, is because they're like, hey, he's not going to cost us that much because half of his salary has already been paid out. We just need to give them we just need to give them picks that we don't have right now anyways. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're cashing in for something that we have is tangible, not a third round pick. What is the success rate on a third round pick anyways?
It's below 50%.
Yeah. And then even the ones that succeed, what are they? Are they starters? Are they good starters? Are they just backup? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think what they did is very interesting. Don't get me wrong. I would rather the way that the Niners are doing it now. I would rather have that, because I'm rooting for the guys that I saw come in,
Right.
For all those stories. You
Homegrown.
learn about all those stories that you root for, right? Because this is not just about winning a Super Bowl. Like we're winning a Super Bowl, like for instance, I'm a Lakers fan as well, right? So the Lakers won a couple years ago, right? In the COVID year or whatever.
Right.
But to me, that was not even as sweet as like the other years of when it's just like they did it with Kobe, they did it with Shaq. You know, you get what I'm saying? Like, even though they traded for Shaq, but, you know, Shaq came in early in his career. But so there's that. So that I feel good about. What I don't feel good about is people have talked about it. I've been worried about the O-line since the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I don't understand why didn't we bring back Compton. I don't get that. I mean, because he was so cheap anyways. So he's a death piece that you could just have there. I mean, maybe just in school they see something or they know something.
Right.
I'm being optimistic that, hey, they know more than us. Obviously, they're doing it for a reason. And you have to get younger at some point, sometime. You can't just keep on doing these 1-year deals and never giving the people that you drafted a chance to show themselves. It just happens to be a lot of them this year, right? Because we're going to get Aaron Banks, right?
Yeah.
Left guard. We have no idea what he's going to be like. Hopefully good. I know the one thing that was great about Aaron Banks was that his thing was he was an amazing pass protector. Right? And
an immovable object in pass protection.
And he was, I think, showed enough athletic ability where, I think he can work in the run game too, right? Yep. So if they move him to left guard, I'm looking forward to that. And it does look like he lost some weight. He looks like I saw a screenshot of him, during the NFC Championship game. He's in the background, and he definitely looked leaner. He didn't look nice.
That's good. Punchy. He's hitting the weight room. He's hitting the NFL weight room. And
I think the position that I'm most worried about is probably right tackle. And I think what McGlinchey, like his injury, like when we heard from Lynch during the combine was that there was a timeline on Kinlaw. They put a timeline on him. They said, you know, he should be ready by OTAs, or I don't remember what they said, but they gave him a timeline. They didn't give McGlinchey a timeline. All they said was, hey, he's working out. It's progressing, you know, but no timeline, right? So when I hear that, that always tells me that it's going to be like week 8 or something like that where he comes in, you know. And
it could be, but the lack of a move there has me confused, right? You would think if they know that, if it's going to be until later in the season, you would think they would have signed a veteran at this point.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing. It's like, it's one of those things where, okay, should I have faith in them? You know, should I have faith that they're going to do this right thing? But at the same time, it's so, like, I thought once we got Lance, I thought Jimmy was gone.
Right.
Because when you make that move like that, I remember listening to Bill Polian, who's a Hall of Fame GM, right after that move was done. He was saying, you know, they have to get rid of Jimmy because this is not like Cap and Alex. Cap was a second-round pick that they're developing, and it's just found gold at that point, right? Yeah. This is spent gold. This is, hey, we put all of our chips in, and
you paid a premium for this gold.
And then we were free of Jimmy's contract. Like, we had an out. It wasn't like one of those things where even if we didn't have an out, many fans would be like, man, I sure wish we had an out on Jimmy, right? We did. We did have an out on Jimmy, and we didn't use it. And now I'm hearing all these rumblings of, like, if he's here, Rob, if he's starting week 1 outside of Lance being injured,
dude, there's going to be a mutiny. A mutiny of fans.
I've been a fan for 30 years. I am going to hit coma. I'm going to go comatose on the 49ers. I'm going to shut it off, and I'll revisit in a year and see what the heck is going on. Because I think it's so unfair to the kid. I mean, I know Jack Hammer says, well, wouldn't you want him to compete? It's like, yeah, of course I want him to compete. But at the same time, this locker room that we have are so they look at Jimmy like a savior. Right. Sure. And I get it. It's a human thing. I'm not saying I would be any different. Is that if you were, I'm sure in the professional world, you've been a part of projects, deadlines, hard, you know, when you work with people, right, and you see that those people give all that they have, you don't think of their deficiencies. You just think You're with me. We got the job done, and there's a bond now. Like, hey, we dug the trenches. You've done the hours. I know. If a new kid comes in and they're like even better than the guy that I was dug the trenches in with, I'm not going to give that new, like the new kid could be, you understand? I'm not going to welcome in. I have my guys. It's a very human thing, but that's the job.
Human thing. Locker room dynamic, human dynamic.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the job where the front office has to make those hard decisions, right?
Yeah.
Because
from a human perspective, it would be untenable to keep Jimmy Garoppolo on this team this coming season. Untenable.
Yes. Like if you want your team to be successful, if you want to move on with Trey Lance, Jimmy on the team is going to make it so weird. It's going to make it so weird for everyone. And then you're going to be a split locker room, blah, blah, blah. Because no matter if they don't cause trouble, like players, I think the 49ers have a lot of high character guys. They might not say anything, but it doesn't mean they're not thinking it. That doesn't mean they're not telling their wives, oh my God. And all of that causes a strain. All of that, all those things, like it's hard enough to win in the NFL, but if there's a strain, it's really hard. Like look at in 88, the first the QB controversy between Young and Montana.
Right.
They were 7-6. And then the coaches said, Bill, you have to make a decision because this team can't survive this. You have to make a decision, right? And they made a decision. They went with Montana and they won the Super Bowl that year. But that's Montana and Young. Those are two Hall of Fame quarterbacks. You know what I mean? We're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo and a kid that has 2 starts in the NFL, right? Like, I love Lance. Like, I'm all in on Lance. I think. Yeah, me too. I think he's the best prospect I could wish for, right? And it's not like, of course, I'm all the athletic stuff. That's amazing. But, we see that all the time. That's not uncommon. What's uncommon is the intangibles with the athleticism, with the humility, with the humbleness, with the work ethic, with the character. If all those things that are true, and I get a hunch that they are, if all those things are true, you have to make it where you give him the best opportunity to succeed, right? You have to. And then let's see what he does and go from there. You cannot be satisfied with mediocrity, right? That's not how the 49ers are. Like, I know that there's new fans, and I know these fans have been around through freaking nothing, right? Like they were born in a apocalypse, right? And they get a
49er void.
Yeah, they were like, and then they get anything, right? Like a fruit on a tree, and they're like, oh my god, look at this thing, and that fruit is Jimmy, right? But then, Trey Lance would be like, hey, we don't have to stay here. We could go to another place that is not burned down. Right. So it's like, that's the thing that this is what the 49ers like era has ever been. Right. It's like, it's about winning championships. Right. Like, I mean, not ever been, but since, from when Eddie took over. Right. It's about winning championships.
It definitely is.
It's not about, hey, we got close. And don't get me wrong.
I disagree a little bit in that because I do take the stance of like those seasons are important and winning consistently is important. Like I think you can look at a franchise like the Pittsburgh Steelers and say they have more Lombardis than us. Yes. But even if they didn't, I think you could look at their model of consistency and be extremely impressed. And if you're a fan, you're in it each and every year. There's something to that, man.
Yeah, no. There is something to be said about that. But what I'm just saying is from a mental standpoint is that, sure, I'm just saying when I mean by go all in, I'm not saying go crazy, right? I'm saying like you should always position yourself to win a Super Bowl, right? Of course, you can't do it all because that's just the reality of things, right? You can't do it all, right? But you have to position yourself in that it gives you, I guess what it comes down to is I've never seen Jimmy as that guy, right? The most important position. I've never seen him that guy to be where you need a QB that makes players better. You need a QB to carry some of the load because that's what a QB does. a QB, it doesn't get carried. That's like, you can't be a net neutral.
Right. I mean, I see more positive to Jimmy than that, but where I completely agree with you, and I got to sort of wrap it up because I got to get down to William Bennett, been patiently waiting. But I agree that you want that quarterback who brings something more, and that Trey Lance very clearly is a guy like that, potentially a guy like that. Whereas Jimmy, you have a pretty good idea that he is not, that you need the team around him, and that, yes, he can be a part of a successful locker room, but he's not really that guy, as you're referring to.
Yeah. And I just want to finish it up by saying, like, I just hope we hear some more. I mean, I think your first caller said, like, there's no need to posture anymore, really, right? Because Jimmy's going to end up on a team where that team is going to be desperate, right? It's not going to be any posturing. That team's going to be, hey, our QB went down. We need a QB, right?
It's potentially true. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no needing to bluff anymore. Like, all the cards are out already. You know what I mean? So it's like,
well, hopefully, Swan Song, we will get an answer to our prayers at the NFL owners meeting. That is the date to keep our eyes on.
Yes. Well, thanks for having me on. It was
absolutely. I appreciate the call. Thank you, Swan Song. Have a good one, my friend.
You too.
All right, we are bringing in William Bennett to the stream. What's up, William? How you doing, man?
Hey, hello, faithful. How's everybody doing?
Cheers, William. I think everybody's, judging by the chat, people are definitely, on edge with regard to the Jimmy stuff, but otherwise it seems to be in good spirits.
Yeah, I can definitely, it's been a rough past week, really, for the faithful, because we, with all these moves you see going on, and every day you wake up, any little breaking news, you hoping it's Jimmy has been moved, and
yes,
it just seems like you that patient father waiting outside the birthing room, like, is it out yet? Is it out yet? But I just have a couple of points I just want to run through that I thought about throughout the day, and hopefully this can, just some mad scientist thinking.
Ooh,
first of all,
mad scientist thinking.
First of all, I was looking at a stat today, because everybody knows the move of Tyreek Hill over to Miami. I like what Mike McDaniel is over there doing.
He's taking some big swings.
Man, he is not playing. He's over there like McVay. He's just snatching them up, ain't he?
Yeah.
But
he is definitely not acting like a first-year head coach. He's acting like a competent head coach.
He is not. I like the guy, actually.
Me too.
But I wanted to say, they were talking about quarterbacks who throw deep.
Yeah.
And the average quarterback of the poorest ones throw at least 7.1 to 7.5% deep.
Okay.
Do you know who was the least out of all the quarterbacks that throws deep? At 6.2?
Was it Tua?
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy, that would have been my guess, but because we're talking about Miami, I tried to get cute. Yeah, so like 1 out of every 20 attempps, he's taking a shot.
I mean, he's the lowest. He's not even at the average of like Josh. What's his name? Josh McDaniels, like over there in the Giants. He throws deep more than Jimmy Garoppolo. I think that is a hindrance of why teams are not really overly excited to get Jimmy. The contract is not very attractive because he's expensive to come and be somebody's backup. I mean, I can understand if it's
expensive as backup.
I can understand if it's Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady, then you can kind of sell the fan base on 25 million. But Jimmy Garoppolo,
that's tough.
But this is, if we were gonna sell Jimmy and trade Jimmy, this would be the selling point. And this is why Jimmy they're so hard to get rid of Jimmy. All this past. It's not Jimmy's talent. It's Jimmy's profile.
Yeah.
He's attractive. He's a good looking guy. He fits that bill, and the ladies love him. I'm telling you, despite his talent, Jimmy sells a lot of jerseys. He puts a lot of butts in seats.
He does.
It's about merchandising.
Merchandising.
It's the money. People don't understand. George Lucas, who created Star Wars, he didn't get his big money from the movie. Nope. He got it from the merchandising.
It was those lunch boxes and all that stuff that we bought after
the figures and all of that. See, that's where the money is. And that's what we could say, look, we know y'all suffering, but Jimmy's gonna sell jerseys. The ladies love him. I'm just saying.
Jimmy G the flamethrower. We got Spaceballs reference coming in now.
Hey.
Merchandising.
Hey, but I'm saying he's hurting us. I like Jimmy, don't get me wrong, but he is hurting us.
He's hindering our ability to make moves at this point. There's no doubt.
This is what other people, not only is he hurting us in the free agency, but this is the thing that I think he may hurt us. And I don't think people I don't know if people thought about, I think he may hurt us in the draft. If he's still with us by the draft, he's gonna hurt us. Because when we go Jimmy got to go
picks, we
at some point
enough right now. Yeah, you have to extend somebody.
We at some point we just gonna have to choke it up like McVay did. Now imagine if McVay didn't pull the trigger and get rid of Jared Goff. He'll still be where he was, the same way we are, still where we are. Yeah, we're getting to shows, but just not finishing them. And I can feel for Debo and other players who are giving their soul to try to get to these games and just to fall short because teams know all we got to do is shut down the run game and put it in Jimmy's hands.
Sure. I mean,
the Chiefs knew it.
He was the weak point of the offense in those years.
I mean, the Chiefs knew it.
Yeah.
When they were losing, they said, "Look, shut everything down. Make Jimmy throw." What happened? The Rams knew it. The Rams say, "What is going on?" And nothing. They was not stopping. The only thing they could think of was, let's bring Von Miller in, help stop this run. They stopped the run, forced the ball in Jimmy's hands.
Yeah.
It's right there. It's right there. My other point was one team that we're not thinking that may want Jimmy, that may surprise a lot of people.
A dark
mad scientist.
Give me some
mad
hope.
Scientist.
Give me some hope.
Now, the New York Giants.
I do think that's in there. I believe that you're right. I think you got
Daniel
Jones.
They could be looking at Josh McDaniels like, we done gave you 3 years, kid, and you ain't doing too much.
Yeah, move on from Daniel Jones.
It's time to move on.
Taylor, that's the interesting piece of it.
Tyrod can be Tyrod. I love Tyrod, but Tyrod's a backup. Jimmy's a starter.
I tend to
He's
agree.
a backup.
By the way, Chris Royal doing the good deed, not to cut you off midstream because we are on one and I love it, but Chris is doing the good deed. I got to bring it in. Smash that like button, y'all. William in the house. Appreciate that, Chris. And yes, please do hit the like button if you're in here. We got over 150 people here watching. Hit
exactly.
That like button, blow up.
Exactly. Blow that thing up.
Boom. Please continue. Please continue, my friend.
My other thing is McGlinchey. I don't know if you ever heard of this, but I had what some runners get. I forgot the name of it. It's kind of like when you tear the muscle kind of tears a little from your shin. Ooh. Shin splints.
Oh yes.
Shin splints. And people do not realize how hard.
Happens a lot, like to people that go into the army that aren't used to running a lot, and then they get forced to run a lot, and then they get shin splints.
Football players get it a lot because they're dealing with the field. See, that's how I got it. I coach youth football. I was running in cleats with my team, and the field was uneven, and caused me to get. It took a while. I'm trying to tell you, and it was painful. and I still to this day can feel it. So that's why with McGlinchey, him tearing the muscle from a bone, that can be something that can actually plague you. If a toe was enough to get rid of a guy, trust me, tearing a bone off a thigh thigh muscle off the bone can end a career.
I bet.
Especially at his size.
I read up on it after it happened, and I heard from my research, didn't hear. I read from my research that it actually does end careers on
it is not a joke. I'm telling you.
of the injuries. So, I think you're probably looking back at, when I look up my research, we're looking at historical data, and these surgeries have come so far in the last couple of years. It's amazing what they're doing. So I would feel somewhat optimistic, but I agree. It's a big injury, and it's something the Niners need to be aware of, need to be concerned about.
I'm going to tell you, some injuries, even in this day and that time right now, medical science haven't found a good enough fix for. Like a torn hernia in your midsection. Right now,
I had hernia surgery last year. That is
I tore my lower abdomen. I have a mesh. I have a mesh down in my lower abdomen. I'm telling you, even to this day and time, they still are putting meshes. They still have not figured out how they can close that up without using one.
Yeah, throw a mesh up in there.
It's just some things that are just some things. My other quick thing is, I do agree with the callers. We really do need to look at the O-line. We really need to look at that O-line. Got to get some depth on that. But I believe the best teams that win the Super Bowl have depth on their bench. It's when your stars go out or hurt, it's those guys, because that's what helped us in 2019.
Yes.
It wasn't just our stars. It was the guys that came off the bench.
It was Brunskill and School. They were huge.
People were like, dang, you couldn't even tell from the starters to the bench guys.
That was huge.
It's huge. Another thing, the Super Bowl window. I think our Super Bowl window is closing. And the reason why I say this is not because of the players. It's not because of the players we're losing. It's the coaches we're losing. If you understand, our team has been able to take people off the street or other teams' players that never perform, like Mosid and Tomlinson and all these others, Hyder and all these other people, and Carlos Rogers, all these people that other teams felt was trash, and we've made them stars. But how do we do that? Coaches.
Yes.
But our coaches are leaving. And that's why I say that's closing our Super Bowl window.
I think that's an interesting angle, William. I do have faith in Kyle's ability to pick and develop coaches because of the track record that he has. But this year is not only another year of losing coaches as we have in the past. This year was exponentially more. Right? It was just a far greater number of coaches departing.
Yes.
I do think you have to wait and see what the impact of that is going to be.
Look at Bobby Turner retiring.
That's
that's huge. Imagine with all we've lost in coaching this year.
Now, it may just be a 1-year departure, right? He claims he's going to come back at 73, but I agree. You got to be somewhat skeptical of that. The man is freaking 73.
man is in his 70s. Come on.
Right? So, but it is supposedly just for the 1 year. I just wanted to throw that out there. But please continue.
I say this. With all the coaches we've lost this year and the past year, but with just this year, what if we would have also lost D'Amico Ryans? What would our coaching staff look like right now?
We would have been devastated. Devastated. I mean, who knows? Maybe you bring in a stud. That would have felt like a big loss. I would have lamented losing D'Amico Ryans if that had happened. And you would think it will happen at some point.
This head office only bring in people that they're associated with.
Yes, they do. They love that previous association. William, I want to get down to Tony real quick, and then I want to try and make a Chris, Sean, William roundtable happen. We got folks waiting though. We got Tony is in there. So we'll try to make that happen. But I got a hard out at 6:30 today. I'm coming back.
Okay.
You cool with that?
I'm cool.
All right, William. We will be right back. I love the round table. I got to have the round table. All right, Tony. What's up, Tony? First time calling. Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you as well. Well, me meet you. I've been watching you for a long, long time. Can you hear me?
I can. It's a little bit quiet, but that's okay. I can turn it up on my end. It's definitely audible.
Okay, cool beans. No, I've been watching you for a very long time. I just love the work that you do. I really loved your combine coverage and also your very balanced takes on things. I think it's very awesome to have. There's a lot of provocateurs out there in the realm of 49ers content creation, and it is really great to have balanced voices out there. Well reasoned stuff. So thank you for that. And I just wanted to come on here and say, obviously, right now the situation with Jimmy Garoppolo is far from ideal.
Yes.
Far from ideal. Okay?
Yes.
But it is not without upside. Now,
okay.
I know we're overpaying for someone who's probably going to end up being our backup quarterback, at least it looks to me, going into training camp.
Right.
But having Jimmy G on the roster is a form of insurance. Because quarterbacks go down, as we learned a lot with Jimmy G. Now,
yes, we did.
And looking at the way the 49ers have been able to play with that very soft salary cap with all the special rules that we have with void years and, giving people bonuses now to alleviate that cap number, it would be nice to have that $25 million to roll over or to spend on many free agents. Don't get me wrong. But looking at the way the 49ers have been able to operate, bringing back enough of their own, bringing back guys like Kerry Hyder, upgrading at cornerback 2. I think we have 2 cornerback 2s now with Ward and Mosley on the team, which is an upgrade over what we had last season. Looking at the special teams upgrades they've been able to do, having Jimmy Garoppolo on the roster and absorbing all that salary cap space, it's not ideal, but it has not been overall detrimental. And I also think that, looking at his situation, looking at Jimmy's situation, I don't think he wants to go be a starting quarterback.
Yes,
right?
100%.
I don't think he's going to be able to beat out Trey Lance in an open competition, especially considering that Trey Lance is going to get all the OTA reps.
Right.
And so for him, if he wants to be the starter, he can play this 2 ways.
Okay.
He could have Don Yee go out there once he's healthy and seek out a trade partner before the trade deadline going into camp, which I think is possible. Or he can sit on the bench and be the backup. And I think in those sign some sort of extension to bring his cap number down, because so long as he still gets his money in the long run, he'll be fine with that. And then once the season ends, at the very worst case scenario, he's the backup quarterback, which again is insurance. We part ways with him after the 2022 season, and he will go off. And in the 49ers math, at that point, sign a deal, which will probably recoup him like a 3rd or 4th round compensatory pick value for us. And so I don't see much upside in releasing Jimmy Garoppolo now just to clear the cap space. Yes, you could roll it over, but I think they can do the salary cap gymnastics to be able to make that number not so bad. And also, as everyone is saying, the salary cap is going to explode because of the new TV contract going into
It'll
next
be huge,
year.
So
So
the only thing that I think that fails to take into consideration for me is the human element. To me, that's the biggest unknown is, can this locker room withstand the sort of heat and pressure that would be applied from having both of them in the locker room together yet again. I thought it was close to a meltdown last year. I thought Shanahan flirted with moments where he seemed like he was going to lose it. Certainly you saw that from Jimmy, and eventually he just had to sort of laugh things off. And then they buried Lance. They wouldn't even let the media speak with him because they were afraid that he would be faced with those unfair questions. To me, that's the biggest consideration, and it has to be factored into these other considerations. And I think you've laid out very nicely that you do have to look at, do we want an insurance policy? What value does it add? Are we hamstringing ourselves by keeping this salary on the books? But I think one of the factors you have to include there to me is the human element.
So I think locker room, the 49ers locker room is going to be fine. They definitely went through it last year. And I think that the thoughts amongst 49ers fans, especially very vocal 49ers fans on Twitter, is a little bit disconnected from what the locker room is. Now, I do think Shanahan has mismanaged the situation. Honestly, I think Jimmy Garoppolo should have been benched after the Tennessee game. If Jimmy Garoppolo is benched after the Tennessee game.
A lot of people that would agree with you on that.
Yeah, if he's benched after the Tennessee game, not only does Trey Lance take over as starter, I think we do better in the playoffs because he adds more to the offense, and Jimmy Garoppolo isn't hurt. And the reason why we couldn't move Jimmy was because he's hurt. It was this line of dominoes that happened because Shanahan was reluctant to make the decision. He had many opportunities throughout the course of the season to do so. And your point about locker room integrity is well merited. But I also think that doesn't give Trey Lance the agency that he actually has. He can go out there this offseason, improve his game throughout OTAs, get better, then going into training camp when Jimmy can throw and actually outperform Jimmy G. Quarterbacks are supposed to be leaders, right?
Yes.
It's all based upon their performance on the field. So if Trey Lance steps up and grows at the rate that we all think he can, there's no reason to think why he can't just win over the locker room, because at the end of the day, it's about winning. And if the team believes that they are better off with Trey Lance, then Trey Lance will win that locker room, and then that will be that. And
I agree, but I would say, like, if you took an analogy into that, if you're moving out of a relationship and into a new one, no matter how fantastic that new girlfriend may be, you don't want to have the old girlfriend living with you at that time, right? Even if you know the new one is the one, it just sort of makes it weird to have the old one still around. And that's how it would feel to me, having Jimmy in the background.
Yeah, the issue there too for me becomes Jimmy's compensation, because ultimately he's the dollars to donuts. He's making $25 million to sit on the bench, and that financial aspect is the thing that I think is the most toxic thing about Jimmy G. But again, Jimmy wants to be a starter, and if the Niners make it clear to him that the only reason why he's not moving is because of the fact that he's being paid too much and they can't move him, on top of the fact that he, in part, is responsible. He and Donnie are responsible for the situation because they took a long time to get the surgery. Now, whether or not that was the right thing to do, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not
sure.
Jimmy, right?
No, we can't know unless we were in the conversation with his doctor and he.
Yeah. So, I just think that we digital 49ers people, who get constant 49ers contact every single day at a very high level. We're a very educated, intelligent, and passionate bunch. And so we are right to be impatient because of the mismanagement of the franchise. But at the same time, there is upside. There is upside to having Jimmy G there from a competitive level when he can compete, and from an insurance standpoint. And at the end of the day, we got to be patient, and it sucks. It sucks to have to be this patient.
I agree 1,000% on both of those, that you have to be patient and it sucks to be patient. Yeah. Agree with that. And I like what you just said there about there is upside to keeping Jimmy. I do think that the downside of it outweighs the upside, but I agree with you that there is upside. I just can't get on board with those who take a really one-sided view of it. I think the truth is much more in the middle. Again, to me, it's offset by the negativity of keeping him around, but I like the case that you make.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope they trade him. I hope they get good value for him. I want Trey to be the starter. I want to make that clear. I just Kalmate, everybody. I think it's going to be okay. This roster is still pretty damn good.
I love it. This has been a fantastic call. Thank you so much. Great to meet you, Tony. I hear from the chat that you're from Hawaii. Is that true?
Yeah.
Are you over there on the islands?
Yeah, born and raised in Hawaii, calling in from Waikiki right now. So, it's the 3:19 p.m. for me. So it's
man,
my lunch
I had
break.
a beautiful vacation in Honolulu back in June. That was fantastic. I love it. Great. Beautiful.
Thank you for your business. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right, Tony. It was a pleasure.
Take care.
Hey,
Aloha.
you too. Hey, we have one more call in from Greg that has added in. Oh, sorry. Sorry, Korean 49er. Didn't mean to jump you in there unannounced there. I was attempting to remove somebody, but we have a new caller in Greg coming in. We may not have time for the roundtable. I have a hard out. That's unfortunate, but I'm thrilled to have new callers. I do have to get to this super chat. George Cribb coming in. Rob, I was thinking, could the 49ers reach out to Drew Brees? They could. They absolutely could reach out to Drew Brees. I don't think Drew Brees is taking that call. I think he's probably enjoying retirement, but you never know. I think you could kick the tires on him. You could see if that's something he's up for. I just don't think it's a likely outcome there. All right, we are bringing Greg into the stream. Greg, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, Rob?
Not much, man. I am enjoying the dialogue today. It is, it's fired up. We're talking about Jimmy Garoppolo some of the time. So
yeah, no, it's been a lot of good stuff. But you know the spiel. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Nice.
I remember you saying the other day you wanted to look a little bit more into the Jimmy Garoppolo injury guarantee.
Yes, I have been doing a little bit of research, so I'm interested to hear your take on it.
Perfect. So I actually talked a little bit with Joel Corey. He's a former NFL agent. I'm currently taking a couple of courses to learn how to be like a athlete management. I tend to pursue that career down the line. So he's one of the instructors that teaches this. So just figured why not ask him, since he's been an agent. He knows a lot more about contracts and whatnot than we do.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So basically, what he said is that in Jimmy's contract, there's I forgot the word he used, but it's basically like whenever he gets released, what money he gets from his salary, it'll get paid back to the Niners. So let's say it's $5 million. $5 million goes straight to the Niners. If it's 10.5 or 10 million, whatever, 7.5 goes to the Niners, and then he keeps the rest. So up to 7.5, they're essentially like entitled to that. So at this point, there's honestly no reason why they're still keeping him, besides like the pride,
Right. Pride, or them truly believing that he is an asset that has value. I think it is strong evidence that whether the Niners are right about it or not, they believe Jimmy Garoppolo has value right now, because that was what I found in my research as well. If the Niners cut him right now, he would fail a physical, and that would trigger the $7.5 million injury guarantee. If he never played again, the 49ers would be out that $7.5 million. It would count against the cap. But assuming that the injury does heal, that he does play for a team this year, and assuming he would get paid, as most quarterbacks do, a reasonably healthy amount, whatever his contract number was for this year would get subtracted from that 7.5. You would think he would get a contract bigger than 7.5 million in the first year. So most likely it would be offset.
My mind that he does.
Yeah.
I mean, like even if you don't see Jimmy as, like top tier, which I highly doubt anybody does, I still think he's due for at least like 12, 14 a year.
Totally, because you look at guys like a Tyrod Taylor or any of the other quarterbacks, even a Mitchell Trubisky, right? If you want to argue that he's in that neighborhood, he was about 2 years, 14 million. So I think it was about 7 mil. So you could see most of that offset by the new contract that Jimmy would then sign with his new team. I agree. That signals that the 49ers holding on to him. To me, that signals that it is because they believe he has value, because they believe they will be able to trade him at some point. Because otherwise, it would make sense to just cut him and rid yourself of the stress.
Right. Personally, the only value that I can see Jimmy having in a trade scenario is maybe Carolina trying to package.
That's who I have my eye on.
Like a fourth or fifth, try to trade him for Sam Darnold, get like a second back or third back, and then extend Sam by like 2-3 years, have him be the backup for Trey.
Yeah,
more or less.
Or
same kind of style play.
Right. I look at Carolina as a potential landing spot as well. That to me seems like one of the last spots that we can pin our hopes on. Maybe a dark horse comes out. Maybe Houston decides that no, they really would rather have a bright, shining, beautiful quarterback that they can put out as the face of the franchise after everything that went on with Deshaun Watson. Maybe they decide that Davis Mills just doesn't provide that. But I think it's more likely a team like Carolina or someone that we just haven't heard of yet that surprises us.
Yeah, I mean, Texans could, but not for 26 million.
Right.
Definitely not.
I do think we have to come around to the fact that we may need to get creative in the trade. It may need to send a pick out with it. We may need to eat a portion of the salary. I think the Niners have to wrap their heads around this idea that it may not be as clean cut as you thought it was going to be. And that's because you, in my opinion, overplayed your hand. And it's evidenced by you being stuck with the last quarterback when there were other deals that went out. If you had lowered your asking price, I think you probably could have gotten Jimmy off the books.
Yeah. Because I was doing a little bit of like crunching the numbers, and I really think it's imperative that they get rid of him like as soon as possible. Because according to Over the Cap, they have about 3.7. Let me double check. I wrote it down. 3.2 million in cap space left,
Yep.
and that's without Ray McLeod signed to the like officially signed.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They haven't gotten
So
that money on the books yet. And
Yeah,
once
so
they
there's-
do, I mean, you still have to sign the draft picks, which is
Exactly.
somewhere around like
around
7 million,
8.6.
right?
According to what's the other one? Spot Track, it's yeah, 8.6 mil.
Yeah. That's a
So
hefty amount that
let's
they will
say,
need
like,
to
around
clear from the books.
7 to 8, you know. But yeah, exactly. They need that, and even if they extend, who was it, Ward and Ebukam, like David Lombardi has been, crying for the last week. They're
Right.
still only getting 10 mil from that, which would put them at 13.49. And once they get the draft class, they only have 4.89 for the whole year. Like you can't do anything with that.
No, you have to have more in the war chest for the ancillary moves that happen throughout the season. I do think, I mean, to me, it's clear as day that Jimmy will be off of the roster before week 1, but I'm okay with the patience now because I'm like the Niners. I view him as having some value, and there, to me, other than my own personal stress and the stress of other 49er faithful, there's nothing to be gained from cutting him right now versus keeping him for, another couple of weeks. I just do not want to see Jimmy arriving for OTAs or anything that involves a team activity where he could potentially get injured as a part of the organization, and then we're really up against the wall.
Nope, not at all.
Yeah. All right. Hey, I got to
thing I
roll
wanted
on
to
this
run,
one
but
because we
yeah,
are getting up against the window, but I love the fact that I had some new first-time callers. And Greg, it was great speaking with you, my friend.
Yeah, of course. I did want to talk to you about a draft as well, but if you got to go, I don't want to take up more
If
of
you
your
can hit
time.
me in 30 seconds, let's do it.
Nah, not really. I had like a whole little list of
I got to
like
bounce to an
players
appointment,
look
but we
at,
will make it happen next Thursday. Call back in. We'll kick off with that.
We'll do. I've been looking
Pleasure,
to
Greg.
get more into doing this stuff with you guys, so definitely.
Very cool. Right on. Hey, it was
All
great speaking with you. I'll catch you on the next one.
You as well. Have a good one.
Man, I keep throwing Korean 49er unexpectedly in there when attempting to remove. My apologies, man. All right. So we are finished up with the show. I got to get going. There was one super chat that I wanted to get to. Now there are 2 super chats in there. Hold on just 1 second. Syard says, Hyder hype. So happy to see the big man back. I'm fired up about Hyder as well. I love that signing. That is value. That is talent coming back. Really appreciate it. All right, going into Jerome. Tinfoil hat. Are the Niners now playing a game of chicken with Carolina, Seattle, or another team? They're going to hold on to Jimmy G to the nth hour. Those teams would need him sooner than we need to keep him. I do think they are in, a game of chicken, essentially. I do think that the Niners are waiting out these other teams. They could see a potential injury happening or something along that lines. But at this point in time, there's no hard deadline for either of the teams. And that to me is the confusing part, is like, what's going to drive this trade to actually happen? Is the draft the next hinge point? I don't know. The owners meeting is interesting because it gets everyone all together in one spot. I will be looking for interviews by the 49ers coming out of that owners meeting. Hey, it has been a pleasure interacting with everybody on this stream. I'm very, very happy to have the Sneakerhead call-in show. I will incorporate a call-in show that's open to everybody that just doesn't have the video element to it. Look for that. If you do not subscribe to the channel, please consider subscribing and hit that like button on the way out. Joshua saying thanks. Thank you. Thank everybody who was on. And until next time, I will be back on the channel with Jackhammer tomorrow. Look for the time on Twitter. I will put it out. Cheers, 49er faithful.